Subscribe to my YouTube channel, share it with your friends, and comment your thoughts. The girl in the vents. She woke up to screaming. It wasn't coming from her dreams. It was inside the walls, or below them. A sharp, choked shriek, swallowed by concrete, then scratching, wet, animal-like, desperate. Sana froze in her bunk, her breath misting in the cold air of the girls' dormitory. She was in the top bunk, nearest the cracked ceiling vent, and it was vibrating. No one else stirred. 10 other girls in the room, all bundled under school-issued blankets, breathing softly. The only sound was the slow whir of the old ceiling. Fan! Until the scratching started again. But this time, it was coming from inside the vent. Closer now, dragging nails. A gasp, then a whisper, "Don't let her see you." Sana sat up too fast, hitting her head on the vent above. She clutched, her forehead hissing quietly. Her eyes flicked to the floor below. Her roommate Nida stirred and turned but didn't wake. Maybe she'd imagined it, maybe she was just tired. But then something cold dropped onto her lap, a clump of wet, matted hair. Long black and reeking of rot, she screamed. The next morning the hair was gone. No one believed her. Stress, the school counselor said. You're top of your class. Could be hallucinations. I think you've been watching too many horror movies, Nida laughed, tying her ponytail in the mirror. Besides, no one's lived in that top bunk for years. Before you. Sana frowned. What do you mean? Nida shrugged. Some girl used to sleep there. New girl too, quiet, bit off. She went missing, never found. The school, a rundown private academy in rural Punjab, had a long history of covering things up. Ghost stories floated through the hallways like dust in the sunlight, but no one really talked about them. Not in the open, but that night Sana couldn't sleep. She kept staring at the vent, waiting. At 3:11 a.m., the scratching came again, but this time it wasn't just a whisper. It was a girl's voice, crying, begging, "Please, please help me. I'm still here." The next morning, Sana reported it to the dorm matron. Isha Madam scoffed. "Ghosts in the vents now, Do you want to be transferred to the therapy room? We have one for hysterical girls." Sana clenched her fists. "I know what I heard. You're sleep-deprived. You're new, adjust or go home." But Sana had no home to go to. Her parents had left her here after her brother's death. Unable to handle the grief, they pushed her away to a place they thought was quiet, safe. They were wrong. The vents grew louder each night. Sana recorded them with her phone. She played. The audio for Nida the next morning. Nothing, just white noise. But the timestamp showed 3:11 a.m. every time. She started to change. Shadows under her eyes, jumping at sudden sounds. She stopped eating, stopped laughing. She began drawing the same face over and over. A girl with empty sockets, black liquid pouring from her mouth. Nida tried to intervene. "You're scaring me." "She's trapped," Sana whispered. "She says she died in the walls, that no one listened, that she's not alone anymore." "What does that mean?" But Sana wouldn't answer. That night, Nida woke to find Sana standing on her bunk, unscrewing the vent with a spoon. "What are you doing?" she hissed. "She's showing me," Sana said without turning. "She says the others are still here. 2. Nida didn't sleep after that. The next day, she went to the old records office in the library basement. The place students weren't allowed to go alone. The door was rusted, but she pushed it open. Inside, rows of dusty files. Water-stained, moth-eaten, she searched under the student registry from 5 years ago. There she was, Zoya Khan, age 16, enrolled 2018, room 7B, status, withdrawn, no notice, no parent signature, no forwarding address, gone without a trace. But, written in red ink across the bottom, "Do not reassign bunk 7B top, unresolved." Nida's stomach twisted. She ran back to the dorm. Sana was gone. The other girls were at class. Only the top bunk was disturbed. Vent hanging open, blankets pushed aside, spoon on the ground, blood on the mattress. Nida stared at the open vent. "Sana?" she whispered. No reply. She climbed the bunk, flashlight in hand, and shone it into the vent. At first, nothing. Then, something moved, just at the edge of the light. A hand, thin, pale. Reaching out, fingers bent backwards at impossible angles. Nida screamed and fell off the bunk. The light flickered. A whisper echoed from the vent. "She opened the way. Now we're all free." They never found Sana. The administration launched a shallow investigation. No cameras, no evidence. A runaway, they said. Typical troubled girl. No one questioned it too much, except Nida, because 3 days later, every single girl in room 7B began waking up with black hair in their beds, long, wet, matted, and the scratches started again, but now from under their pillows. That night, Nida received a voice message on her phone. It was static at first. Then, Sana's voice. "Don't sleep, don't turn your back to the vent. If you hear crying, it's too late." The message ended with a sound, like bones breaking. Nida left the school 2 days later. She never spoke about what she saw. No one did. But sometimes, when she walks past air vents, she swears she hears whispers. And in the silence, a girl, crying, "Still here, still here." The yearbook photo that shouldn't exist. Maya was the kind of student every teacher trusted. Smart, soft-spoken, always early. Never broke rules. Never missed class. So when she found the old yearbook, one that wasn't supposed to exist, the horror that followed felt almost unfair. Like something innocent being punished for simply noticing. It began in the art storage room. Maya had volunteered to organize the cluttered cabinets during her free period. Dust choked the air. Broken statues, moth-eaten sketchbooks, rusted paint cans. It all felt ancient, forgotten. She found the yearbook wedged behind a pile of cardboard near the back wall. The cover was cracked leather, faded gold lettering, barely legible. Class of 2018, Amna Girls High School. Maya frowned. That year wasn't listed in any official archives. The school had claimed no graduation occurred that year. Renovations, budget cuts, something vague like that. Curious, she opened it. The first pages were normal. Class photos, smiling faces, names typed in a neat serif font. But as she flipped further, things got strange. Photos blurred. Some faces were scratched out, others looked wrong. Eyes slightly off, mouths twisted into unnatural grins. Names were replaced by single letters or erased altogether. Then she turned to a page that hadn't been touched by time. A perfect photo. Room 7B dorm residence. 2018, 10 girls standing together in their school uniforms, smiling. Except for one in the back row, who wasn't smiling at all. She was staring straight ahead, mouth slightly open, as if she was about to scream, and Maya recognized her. It was Sana, the girl who disappeared 2 weeks ago, the girl whose name no one dared mention anymore. Maya's breath caught. She flipped back through the earlier pages. No one else from that photo was listed anywhere else in the book, not a single record. It was like they only existed on that page, and nowhere else. That night, Maya showed the photo to her best friend, Farah. Farah squinted at it. "That's impossible. If this was 2018, how could that be Sana? She'd only be 12. She looks exactly the same." Farah shrugged. "Maybe a sister? Or someone who looked like her?" "No," Maya whispered. "It's her. I'm sure of it." She looked back at the picture, but this time it had changed. The girl who looked like Sana wasn't just standing anymore. She was looking up, directly into the camera. Her mouth wider, eyes darkened, and something else. Another figure in the background, crouched behind the group, almost hidden, barely visible. A shadow with a hand reaching forward. Maya blinked. Now there were scratch marks across the top of the page. The next. "Morning." The art room was sealed off. Maya asked the custodian what happened. Nothing for students to worry about, he said, nervously shifting his eyes. Leak, structural issue. But she saw the security tape on the door. And the faint smell of bleach. She tried to find the yearbook again. Gone. When she mentioned it to Farah, her friend snapped, "You've been obsessed with this since Sana vanished. Maybe you just want answers that don't exist." But that night, Farah called Maya crying. "Hey, there's someone in my yearbook," she whispered. "My real one, from last year. I didn't notice until today." Maya rushed over. Farah's yearbook lay open on her bed. There, between two pages that should have shown class sports photos, was something else. Room 7B dorm residence, 2018, the same photo. But now, Farah was in it, at the end of the row. Face blank, eyes dead. She screamed and threw it across the room. Things spiraled quickly. Farah started sleepwalking. Maya found her once standing in the hallway, whispering something over and over. "It's my turn to disappear." Students began reporting missing items, ID cards, mirrors, hairbrushes, all found later in strange places, under pillows, behind, toilets, inside lockers that no one used anymore. Then one girl, Heba, went missing, gone between second and third period. Her backpack found in the courtyard, her shoes placed neatly beside the old rusted water tank behind the science block. That night, Maya dreamed of the yearbook. In her dream, the pages bled ink. Names melted off the paper. She flipped to the group photo. All the girls were gone, except for one, Sana. Her face was completely black now, features erased like someone had poured oil over the photo. A voice echoed in Maya's head. "She marked you when you looked." Now the book remembers. Maya stopped going to class. She tried to tell her teacher, her parents, but no one believed her. One counselor gave her a bottle of sleeping pills. Another told her to focus on healthy routines. She didn't. Sleep for days. She locked her mirror in a drawer, refused to look into vent grates or air ducts. She unplugged the school computer when she saw the photo flash on her screen for half a second. Then came the knock. 3 soft taps at 3:11 a.m. Her dorm room door creaked open. She didn't remember opening it. When she woke up, her yearbook was open on the desk, turned to the same group photo, except now she was in it. Farah was gone, her face scratched out. The next day, the school announced Farah's transfer to another district. But no one remembered her clearly. Her desk was empty, her belongings gone. No one seemed alarmed. Maya tried to protest. "She was here yesterday. We had an exam." The teacher blinked. "Who?" The world was folding in on itself. Maya took a permanent marker and blacked out her own eyes in every photo she could find. But it didn't help, because that night, when she checked the photo again, not by choice, but like something forced, she saw a new girl added to the row, herself, clear, sharp, unblurred, and behind her, a hand resting on her shoulder, a hand that didn't belong to anyone in the group. Maya began tearing the page out. It wouldn't rip. She burned it. The flames hissed and died. The page remained untouched, but her room began to change. Cold, damp. The walls started whispering. She'd cover her ears and still hear it. Dozens of voices at once, all saying the same thing in different tones. "She sees you now." One night she slammed the book shut, locked it in her drawer, and threw the key out the window. But it was back on her desk by morning, open to the same page. A week later, Maya went missing too. Security footage showed her walking into the art room, the one that had been sealed off, but when they broke open the doors, no one inside. No footprints, no sign of a struggle, just a single item in the middle of the floor, a yearbook, open to room 7B dorm residence, 2018. Now, with 3 more girls in the photo, Sana.Farah.Maya, all smiling, all wrong. The locker that dripped blood, Zion. never believed in ghosts. He was the type who mocked horror movies, laughed during jump scares, and told everyone how science can explain anything. He transferred to Amna High 2 weeks after Maya disappeared, a quiet new student from Karachi who thought all the stories about haunted dorms and vanishing girls were just small-town paranoia. Until the locker began to drip. It started on a Monday. Rain hammered the windows as students returned from a long weekend. Zayan opened his new locker, number 108, third floor, right outside the abandoned art room, and found the inside smeared with something red. He assumed it was paint, except it was warm and sticky. He wiped his fingers on his jeans, grimacing. Who the hell thinks this is funny? But there was no one in the hallway, just the hum of flickering lights. He went to wash it off, but the red stain clung to his palm like it had soaked through his skin. The janitor dismissed it. Kids pull weird pranks in that corridor. I wouldn't worry about it. Zayan did worry, because the next morning it happened again. This time, it wasn't just inside the locker. It was leaking out of the vent above it. A slow, thick drip. Red pooled on the floor beneath his shoes. He checked the ceiling. No broken pipes, no rust, nothing. Just that smell. Metallic. Familiar. It was blood. He showed the principal. They shrugged it off. Perhaps a dead rat in the duct system. Maintenance will handle it. But they didn't. Wednesday, the blood was thicker. It left streaks down the front of his locker, forming strange shapes. Almost like letters, but distorted, stretched. It made his stomach twist to look at them. He stopped opening it. He carried his books instead, avoided the third floor. But something wasn't done with him. That night, Zayan dreamt of the hallway. He was standing in front of the locker, alone. The corridor was silent, too silent, like sound itself had been sucked away. The locker creaked open on its own. Inside, he saw a folded yearbook page. He reached for it, but when his fingers touched the paper, hands shot out from inside, grabbed his wrists, and pulled him in. He woke up screaming. The next day, his books were missing, every single one, from his backpack, his dorm, his drawers. He found them shoved into locker 108. He hadn't opened it. No one had the key but him, and on top of the pile was the yearbook, not a new one, the same one Maya found. Class of 2018, faded leather, gold lettering worn down to nothing. It wasn't possible, but he picked it up, hands shaking, and flipped through. The pages. It opened to room 7B dorm residence, 2018. The faces were darker now, eyes blurred, like something was rotting the photograph. Zayan recognized a girl from his physics class, Nida, but she wasn't in school anymore. She'd supposedly moved away last week. Quietly, no goodbye. He flipped the page, another group photo. This one, of him, his class. But his own face had been scratched out, replaced with a black smudge, and behind the row of smiling students was a shadow, tall, faceless, with one hand resting on his shoulder. He shoved the book back into the locker and slammed. It shut, but the hallway lights went out, one by one, click, click, click. The darkness swallowed the floor, and from behind him footsteps, slow, wet. He ran. Didn't stop until he was outside the school gate. By evening, he was trying to convince his father to let him transfer again. "This school's cursed," Zayan said, pacing their small rented flat. "Kids go missing, teachers act like they don't care. They lie, they cover it up." His father stared at him. "Son, that school has the best reputation in this district. Stop letting ghost stories rot your brain." Zayan's phone buzzed. A text, no name, no number, just an image, a photo of his locker, taken from inside it. The timestamp was 1 minute ago. He didn't sleep. He kept the lights on, clutched his phone, ignored the thumping that started in the walls around midnight, noises like dragging chains, knuckles tapping against glass, and whispers, not in any language he understood, just whispers. The next morning, he returned to the school office and demanded to speak with the principal. But the secretary looked confused. "You're Zayan, right?" "Yeah." She flipped through a printed student roster. "I don't see your name here." He leaned over. "What do you mean? I've been here for 2 weeks." But his name wasn't there, not even misspelled. She shrugged. "You sure you're not from the boys' section of another campus?" He stormed out. That's when he noticed something. The hallway outside the office had changed. The walls were no longer painted white. They were faded grey. No students passed him, no voices. The window blinds were drawn tight. He was alone. He ran down the corridor, but the layout didn't make sense anymore. Doors led to dead ends. Stairs looped back to the same floor. It felt like the building was folding in on itself. He turned a corner and stopped. Locker 108, dripping, bleeding. The smell hit him hard, but this time the locker door was wide open. Inside, a photo, just one, of him, pinned to the back wall with a rusted tack. In the photo, Zayan was staring at the camera. Blank face, eyes hollow, and behind him, that same shadow. Closer now. One arm around his neck, he backed away, but something crawled out of the vent above. Long fingers, a head, a face with no skin, just muscle, stretched and twitching. No lips, just a permanent scream. It dragged itself halfway down the wall. Zayan ran. He didn't stop until he burst through the school entrance and collapsed on the street outside, chest heaving, hands shaking. The next morning, no one remembered Zayan ever enrolled. The boys' dorm he stayed in, empty, his name removed from every system, CCTV footage, glitched. But the janitor, he remembered. He walked the hallway later that night, whistling to himself, keys jangling. He paused by locker 108. The lock was gone. Inside was a new yearbook and a sticky note on the cover. One more added. He didn't touch it. He just backed away, slow, as the lights above him flickered and the sound of something wet crawling through the ducts echoed in the ceiling. The girl in the basement who never left. Anaya hated being forced into the school's therapy club. She was outspoken, sarcastic, and had already been suspended twice for disruptive behavior. But after 3 students went missing in the same month, and whispers of mental breakdowns spread through the faculty, the school decided to launch a weekly mental wellness group. Anaya was the first one forced in. "It's not therapy," her homeroom teacher told her, smiling too much. "It's just sharing, for your own good." The first session was in room B1, deep in the school's underground basement, a place students had long avoided. It was an old fallout shelter from the 60s. Moldy walls, no windows, only one creaky staircase leading down. Anaya rolled her eyes, but showed up anyway. She wasn't scared. She didn't believe in haunted hallways or cursed lockers like the other kids whispered about. She just wanted to get it over with. 5 students were already there, all quiet, all staring at the center of the room, at the single empty chair. No teacher, no therapist, just silence and the empty seat. Anaya sat. The air was cold, stale. Her phone had no signal, not even Wi-Fi. "Is this a joke?" she said loudly. No one answered. Then one girl, sitting in the corner, slowly lifted her hand. Anaya. He blinked. "Yes." The girl didn't speak. She just pointed to the darkest corner of the room where the wall had started to flake apart. At first it looked like peeling paint, but then Anaya noticed there were scratches on the wall, dozens of them, like someone had been clawing to get out, and scrawled in blood-red letters beneath the marks, "I'm still here." That night, Anaya had a dream. She was in the same basement, but it was darker, colder. The lights were flickering. She sat in the same chair, only now the others weren't there. Just one girl standing across from her. Long hair covering her face. Uniform dirty, feet bare. She didn't speak, she just stared, and then began walking backwards, slowly into the corner, into the wall, and vanished. Anaya shot up in bed, sweating. The next day at school, she asked the admin about the girl. In the dream, described her in detail. They froze. Sounds like Sarah Malik, the counselor said after a long pause. She was a senior. Quiet girl. Came here years ago, but she never graduated. What happened? She had episodes, the counselor whispered. Said she saw something in the basement. Was convinced it wanted her. One day, she stopped showing up. Parents filed a missing persons report, but nothing came of it. Eventually, people stopped talking. Anaya swallowed hard. Did anyone look in the basement? Of course, the counselor said too quickly. Nothing was found, but Anaya couldn't let it go. The next therapy session, she returned early. She stood alone in the basement, flashlight in hand, staring at the scratched wall. Then she noticed something new. The wall had a seam, a crack. She ran her fingers along it, and it shifted. A door, barely visible. She pushed. It creaked open into pitch blackness. The air smelled of rot. She stepped inside. The room beyond was small, low ceiling, dusty. The walls were covered in torn fabric, school uniforms, some old, some newer. In the corner, a mattress, torn and stained, and beside it, a box of notebooks. She knelt. Inside were Sarah Malik's journals. The entries started. Normal, rants about school, poems, stories, but halfway through they changed. They said, I'm not well, but I know what I saw. The mirror moved. It showed me my own face, but it was smiling while I cried. Room B1 is not just a room. It's a trap. It breathes, it waits. He lives in the dark corner. He feeds on the broken. I stopped crying. That's when he got closer. Anaya froze at the last entry. I didn't run fast enough. If someone finds this, don't sit in the empty chair. Something groaned behind her. She turned slowly. The door had closed, and in the dark, something was breathing right next to her. She bolted, slammed against the door. It wouldn't budge. The breathing grew louder. Then came a whisper. You took her place. She screamed, slamming the door again and again, until it burst open and she stumbled out, gasping, heart pounding. The hallway lights flickered back on. She was alone. She tried to show the others the hidden room, the notebooks. But when they returned the next day, the wall was solid. No seam, no door, no mattress, no journals, just cold concrete. Over the next week, strange things followed her. Mirrors fogged on their own. Her phone would play. Audio clips of whispering voices at 3 RKM, always saying the same word, stay. Her own reflection would smile when she didn't, and each day she walked past the basement door, it creaked open a little more. She skipped the next session, but the counselor found her in the library. Anaya, he said gently, why didn't you come downstairs yesterday? I don't belong in that group. Everyone belongs in the group. It's how we heal. She looked at his face, too pale, eyes too wide, like something else was inside him. I'm fine, she whispered. He leaned close. You're not allowed to leave. That night, her roommate was gone. Anaya waited. At midnight, she heard the knock, 3 soft taps. She didn't answer. Then the basement door creaked, open on its own. She didn't go to school the next day, but the attendance app said she was present. A photo appeared in her student portal. It showed the therapy group, all seated, all smiling, including her. But she hadn't been there. The whispers returned stronger, voices in the vents, notes in her backpack. Why did you leave me? She went back down, this time not to sit, to end it. She stood before the wall. The scratches were fresh now. She dug her fingers into the crack she couldn't see, but somehow knew was still there. It opened. The hidden room was waiting, but it was no longer empty. Sarah was there, not a ghost, not entirely. Her face was wrong, stretched, hollow. But her eyes, they were still pleading. You saw me, she whispered. So now you have to stay. Hands grabbed Anaya from behind. Familiar hands, the other students, all the therapy kids, faces slack, eyes empty, standing in the dark behind her. They pulled her into the room. The wall sealed shut. At morning roll call, her seat was empty, but no one questioned it. Another student took her place, and that night, in room B1, a new chair was added. One more voice whispered in the dark, "I'm still." Here her friend died in that classroom. So why did she see her smiling today? Elena hadn't walked past room 107 in almost a year, not since Maya died. Maya had been her best friend since kindergarten, inseparable, chaotic, fearless. But last October, during detention, something happened. The official story said it was a panic attack, that Maya collapsed and never woke up. But Elena had seen the look in Maya's eyes when they dragged her body out. She wasn't scared, she looked relieved, like whatever had been haunting her had finally let go. Room 107 had been locked since. The door was always shut, the windows always covered. Some teachers said it was being renovated, some avoided talking about it altogether. But Elena knew something had gone wrong in that room, something no one wanted to admit. Then yesterday, it happened. She was walking down the west corridor when she heard it. Maya's laugh, light, bubbly, a little snort at the end. Exactly how she used to laugh when Elena said something stupid. Elena froze. It was coming from room 107. She stared at the door. It was open, just a crack. That night she barely slept. She pulled out her old phone and opened their chat, the one she could never delete. The last message from Maya was still there. "Don't let them in, no matter what. Promise?" Elena had never understood what she meant. Now it echoed in her mind like a scream behind a closed door. She made a decision. Tomorrow, during lunch, she would go inside room 107. She needed answers. The next day, the hallway was quiet. No teachers. No noise. Elena stepped up to the door. It opened with a creak. Dust motes floated in the still air. The desks were exactly where they'd been a year ago. Nothing had changed, except one desk in the back had something carved into it. "I can still see her." Elena's heart pounded. The walls had new drawings scratched into them, rough childlike figures with hollow faces and open mouths, and in the front of the classroom someone had left a small box on the teacher's desk. Elena opened it. Inside was a photograph, old, faded. It showed a class of students standing in front of room 107. She recognized none of them, except one, Maya. But the year written on the back said 1996. Elena stared at the photo, heart racing. She flipped it over again and again. Was it someone who looked like Maya? No, it was her, same face, same necklace. Even the scar near her lip from when they'd fallen off their bikes, but that was impossible. "Don't let them in." The message made sudden, terrifying sense. Maya had been part of something repeating, something cyclical. And Elena had just opened the door again. She tried to leave. The doorknob wouldn't turn. The windows were sealed tight and behind. The air shifted. She turned. A girl stood in the middle of the room, wearing Maya's favorite hoodie, hair in braids, face pale. But the smile? Wrong, too wide, too sharp, like someone else was wearing her skin. "Elena," the girl said, voice flat, "why didn't you come with me?" Elena backed away, shaking. "You're not her." The girl tilted her head. "I'm better now." "You will." "Me too. You just have to say yes." "To what?" "To staying." The lights flickered. The chalkboard screeched as if something sharp scraped across it. Then came the sounds. Footsteps, dozens of them, echoing through the walls, though no one was there, and voices whispering in unison, "Say yes." "Say yes! Say yes!" Elena screamed and bolted to the desk. She grabbed a chair and smashed it into the window. Crack! Again, crack. Blood from her palms, glass splintering everywhere. Then, boom! She fell out onto the hallway floor, gasping, crying, alone. The door slammed shut behind her and locked. She ran straight to the counselor's office, told him everything. He listened quietly, too quietly. Then, without blinking, he said, "Room 107 doesn't exist anymore." Elena stared. "What do you mean?" "We sealed it years ago. After the fire." "What fire?" He smiled. "Sometimes trauma makes people imagine rooms that were never there." She left shaking, confused. But as she reached the end of the hallway, a girl passed her braided hair, Maya's hoodie, grinning, and in her hand, the photo Elena found. The next day, room 107 was gone. No door, no windows, just a stretch of wall. She checked the school floor plan. Room 106 jumped straight to 108. It had never existed, or so they wanted her to believe. That night, Elena's phone buzzed. One new message from Maya's number. You opened it again, you brought it back. And attached, a voice recording. Elena hit play. It was her voice, sobbing, screaming, and repeating over and over. "I said yes, I said yes, I said yes." Elena dropped the phone. Her mirror flickered. Maya's face appeared behind her, smiling. She thought it was over, but the final bell never rang. Elena didn't go back to school after that night. Her parents thought she was sick. Fever, stress, maybe trauma from Maya's death finally catching up. They didn't press her much, but Elena knew it wasn't grief making her skin crawl or shadows shift when she blinked. It was Maya, or whatever was pretending to be her. She tried everything, deleting Maya's contact, smashing her phone, burning the photo, but the messages kept coming. New numbers, voicemails in Maya's voice. Even a letter tucked into her locker the day she returned, though no one saw who put it there. The bell never rang, Elena. You stayed. You said yes. You belong now. By Wednesday, she couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. When she passed mirrors, her reflection didn't blink with her. Sometimes it smiled when she didn't. Sometimes it whispered things, and then she realized something horrifying. The voice in the mirror wasn't Maya's anymore. It was hers. The final straw came Thursday night. She was sitting at her desk, trying to finish her homework, pretending life was normal, when her bedroom light cut out. Not flickered, just gone. A second later, her laptop turned on by itself. One file, no name, just play me. She clicked it. It was video footage, fuzzy, black and white, like an old security tape. Room 107. She recognized the windows, the crooked ceiling fan, the chalkboard, and at the front, someone was sitting alone. Her. The footage was dated tomorrow, 2:47 p.m., and in the bottom right corner, something darker was moving, watching her. Crawling up from beneath a desk, Elena slammed the laptop shut. No more. She made a decision. She would go back to room 107, if it even existed. She'd end this. Friday, 12:30 p.m. She walked the hall with her heart beating like it wanted to break out of her chest, and then she saw it. Room 107. The door was there again. No one else seemed to notice. Students passed by, chatting, laughing, ignoring the door entirely, as if it wasn't real. But she saw it, and it saw her. She stepped inside. Nothing had changed. Same dusty desks, same weird silence. Same box on the teacher's desk, only this time the box was open, empty, and on the chalkboard, written in thick red scrawl, the bell never rang. She heard it then, a low humming, like a lullaby played in reverse. It came from under the floorboards, from the cracks in the wall, from inside her head, and then a chair scraped behind her. She turned. There were now students filling every desk, silent, still, heads down, faces wrong, blurred, shifting, but she knew them. Old students, photos from the walls, from the photo albums Maya showed her last year. Some dated back to the 1960s. One wore a Letterman jacket from 1983. One girl had her throat slit and was still smiling. A voice spoke from the blackboard. Maya said yes. You said yes. They all did. Then the room began to breathe. The walls pulsed, the lights dimmed and flickered in a pattern like a heartbeat, and the floor beneath Elena's feet cracked open. Black water seeped through, and hands. So many hands, reaching, grabbing. She ran to the door. It was gone, not locked, not shut. Gone, just a wall. She turned and screamed, "I didn't say yes! I never said yes!" And from all the desks, the voices replied in unison, "But you stayed." From the front of the room, someone stood. Maya. No longer smiling, but this time Elena knew it was her real best friend. Maya's face was sad, tired. "Why did you come back?" she whispered. "I wanted to save you." "You can't. I already gave myself. I broke the seal when I let them in. Now they're us." "You're not gone," Elena said. "You're still fighting." Maya stepped forward. A single tear ran down her cheek, and then she placed something in Elena's hand. A school bell, old, rusted, cracked. "What is this?" "The only way out. You have to ring it." "But it's broken." Maya looked at her, eyes glassy. "You have to make it ring, even if it kills you." The students began to stand, their mouths opened wide. Too wide, screaming without sound. The shadows pooled like oil. One of the faceless students leapt at her. Elena swung the bell, hitting it against the desk. Nothing. She slammed it again. Nothing. Maya screamed, "You have to remember who you were." The memories flooded in. Bike rides. Laughter, Maya crying after her dad died. That night they snuck into the school and did that stupid séance. Oh, the séance. They lit candles, said the names, read that old Latin phrase from the book Maya found. They thought it was a joke. It wasn't. They invited something in. That's when it started. That's when room 107 began to change. She gripped the bell and whispered, "I take it back." I closed the door. I shut the room. Then she raised it high and screamed, "Get out!" and slammed it down. It rang, cracked and twisted. The sound burst through the room like thunder. Every window shattered. The students screamed, real voices. This time, and disintegrated ash, bone, echoes. Maya stood alone at the front now, smiling, truly smiling. "You did it," she whispered. "Can I leave now?" Elena asked, broken, sobbing. Maya nodded, but as Elena turned toward the door, now visible, again, Maya said something that made her freeze. "I never could." Elena looked back. Maya's face was already fading. "Don't forget me." "I won't." Then the door opened, and Elena stepped out into the hallway. It was empty. The air felt normal. No whispers, no shadows, no breathing walls. She walked to the main office. It was 12:51 p.m., the exact time the video had shown. But her name wasn't on the school roster anymore. Neither was Maya's. Neither was room 107. A week later, Elena transferred to another school. She never talked about it, never returned. But sometimes, late at night, her phone buzzes. No number, just a voice, her own, saying, "The bell never rang." Final line. Some doors stay shut forever, but others are waiting for someone to listen. The end.